I have had incidents where I what's the word? Forgot to press record.
Ah, yes, that old chestnut. Yeah.
Forget to press record. All right, guys. You've come stumbling into our conversation. I've got Rob here who has had a really amazing, busy couple of months, I would say, right?
I mean, I think that's fair to say. Yeah. Oh, hello.
Hello. So I was going to say apologies if my daughter walks in, but yeah, daddy
No,
duties at the
you're not a
same time.
problem.
But that's a hard drive, Daddy. So please stay away from that in case you delete something. But yeah, I know you've had a busy couple of weeks, months, and this was, just to have a quick conversation with you regarding of the passing of the great Kevin Conroy, and
Mm.
how much that animated series means to a lot of us. I mean, that must have taken you by shock.
Uh, it was. It felt like just any other day. For me. At first I was doing what I love to do.
Mm,
I was just writing.
yeah.
For most of the day, I did a little bit of editing for a client. And then I ended up doing a podcast recording for another podcast. And
Okay.
then um by the by the time we got out of the podcast, my feed was all over the shop.
Oh,
Like literally people were messaging saying, "Oh dude, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard?" And I was like, well, if you were clearer about saying what have you like
what have you?
what have you heard, I would know. And then I strangely went to Twitter to do the
Yeah.
first like to look. And there's been this whole joke of verification thing, the blue tick and everything
Yeah.
else. And I had thought at first it was just some really horrific, cruel joke.
Yeah.
But once CNN started to report, and
Mm,
Variety and Hollywood Reporter coming in with the report, man, my heart sank.
mm,
My heart just completely sank because it's just it's the passing of a hero,
hmm
and that's what it was to me. It was, it wasn't just the passing of a creative, it was a passing of a hero inside the creative world and outside of it.
That's right.
When you hear this man's journey,
Mm,
first of all, but then you hear about all the other things he did as part of the journey, and just his humanity alone.
yeah.
It was just such a shock. And and I'm not afraid to admit it, but like I shed quite a few tears,
Mm,
and it was devastating news to receive. And at the age of 66, in this
mm.
day and age, that's nothing.
No, of course. We found it. Me and my brothers, when we spoke about it, was he was still in our eyes still young.
Yep.
That's it's still a young. I knew what he was going through personally with the battle he had.
Mm.
And same thing, man. Me and my brother, we shed a tear. The animated series, his voice, and what he did for that part of the industry is just absolutely amazing. Uh,
Mm.
he'll play, a key part of like there is nobody else's voice in that character we would want to hear. It was him. But even what he did for his fans as well, man. Like I saw videos coming up of like the cameo videos that he did for people, and
Mm.
it was just his message, man. His message is he wanted to spread goodness in what he
Mm.
did, and I think that's here's a guy who's not knowing where his career is going to head. He does the voice of this character, and he'll forever live on now.
Mm. I mean,
Uh,
it's interesting you mentioned the cameo thing, because I
yeah,
got one of those for my
yeah.
birthday.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was a wonderful 30th birthday present, I have to admit.
Oh,
And
bless.
it was quite a shock to see a video open up and the first thing you hear is "Happy birthday, Rob. This is Batman calling from Wayne Manor." And it's, and you're just, you feel like a kid in that
That's right.
moment. You just feel like a kid in that moment, like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is so dope.
Hmm.
And then what would you would expect like a cameo to be like traditionally what, a minute, just under a
Mm.
minute. His was 5 minutes. 5 minutes of wisdom, guidance, talking about the importance of this character and its
Mm.
world, and talking about creativity as if it is like a gift that you give to the back to the world.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
it's a remarkable 5 minutes that I have on my phone. And um I will now cherish that forever. And that we talk about him as being the voice of Batman for
Mm.
the animated series. For me, he is the voice I hear whenever I read comics.
Mm.
And it's interesting because there have been so many interpretations of this character, but
That's right.
I think for many people he is the voice that we all hear whenever we're discussing or even reading, as I said, about like any Batman story. Like we're not thinking of Frank Miller when we're reading Batman Year One. We're thinking of Kevin Conroy because
Yeah,
he was
that's right.
what makes his Batman so brilliant is it was not only the most human Batman, it was the most relatable Batman because he was able to humanize the character to a point where we could all attach ourselves to this character with a
Hmm.
universal feeling, which is pain and grief.
That's right.
He's essentially using his own pain and grief of his own life experiences and creating not just one character but two characters. There's the Bruce Wayne and Batman, and to bring that together in this performance that he carried on for about 30 years
That's right. That's
is
right.
extraordinary. Because most people would have told him, just do this series and you're done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's almost as if he grew as an actor and as a performer and in this role as he got older. And
Hmm.
that's another really extraordinary thing. He's the longest reigning Batman actor,
Batman.
really.
Yeah,
And
that's right. He is.
I don't think he'll be topped in that category. So he will forever be known as the longest running Batman. So yeah.
Oh man, no, it was tough to hear and tough to see. And I love what he's done. I didn't get the chance to meet him. He was one of the inspirational guys that I wanted to meet for
Mm.
thanking him for my childhood and what he does as well. You know, and I've seen his fan interactions and the way he is with people and the way he makes people feel like you want to be around in that type of presence as well. You really want to just indulge yourself in that and be like, oh man, just give me a cuddle, dude. Come on.
Mm.
Yeah.
So luckily, this time last year, I was fortunate enough to meet the man in person. And while I couldn't give him a hug because of
Yeah.
COVID procedures,
Hmm.
naturally, um, I did get the chance to have a chat with him, and it was interesting. So, I do now own probably the most important piece in my collection now, which is it's
Oh.
a signed copy of the all-time greatest Batman movie, in my opinion. And
Yep.
I will fight anyone who says otherwise. But you know, I now need Mark Hamill's signature to complete this collection.
Yes, you do.
Andrea Beaumont as well.
Yep.
She the so when I said, because he was saying to me, like, so when I presented this to him, he said, "You're the first." And I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're the first person to bring Mask of the Phantasm to me today in LA." And this is in LA Comic Con, I should add.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, to me, Kevin, this is well, actually, I called him Mr. I called him Mr. Conroy." And he's like, because that would have been too extreme for me. I just like Mr. Conroy, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Please, Kevin, call me Kevin." I was like, and I said, "Well, to me, Mr. Conroy, this is a masterpiece,
Hmm.
like in every sort of way." And I think the beauty of it is because it's at the heart of it, it's a love story.
That's right.
And he just turned to me and he went, "You're absolutely right."
Oh,
And
man.
it's and we literally spoke about this movie for about because I was ready to just go, like
Yeah,
he, to sign it, and then I would walk off and whatever. I thought it was
that's
just
right. Yeah,
literally he signed it, whatever. But he said, no, we have to wait for the ink to dry. And I didn't think of that. Naturally, I just thought, okay, yeah. But no, he said, no, let's talk about what you want to, you're here and, you're clearly not from around here. And I went,
yeah,
no, I traveled from the UK all the way to LA Comic Con. And I told him that I'd done Living in Crime Alley,
yeah.
and I told him what it was based off, Appointment in Crime Alley. And he said, that one doesn't get enough attention. I went, right. And this is the thing, we're both kind of like talking about just our mutual respect for the character, but also our understanding of what is, seen as underappreciated and what is not appreciated. But
That's right.
I think the icing on the cake, which I know deep down was very corny when I
Yeah.
said it, but I said to him at one point, um, for me, this is not just a meeting of a great, actor. And, for me, this is that scene in the Beware the Grey Ghost when you meet Simon Trent and you give him a copy of, the re-release of the episodes, and you say, the Grey Ghost was my hero.
Hmm.
I basically said, whew, I basically said to him, I used to watch this show with my grandfather, who was there for me when my father passed away.
Hmm.
And then sadly, he then passed away a few years after his passing. But there was always one consistent thing that carried through afterwards, and it was you and your voice and the episodes and the adventures that we shared with my grandfather. And the Batman was my hero,
Hmm.
and he still is. And Kevin just said, that's beautiful.
Oh
And
man.
that's why he does what he does, because he knows that the work that he does impacts so many, because there is such an attachment to this character and this world for the audience to be invested in.
Hmm.
It's, as I said before, it's a universal feeling of pain and grief
That's right.
that brings both Batman and the audience together. And um
Hmm.
yeah, it was an absolute honor to meet him. And
Oh, bless.
I don't know if he ever watched Living in Crime Alley, who knows, but if he did, I hope he enjoyed it. But that doesn't matter. What matters to me is knowing that I got the chance to meet one of my heroes. And they say never meet your heroes because you'll
Hmm.
always be disappointed, but this was one of the most incredible conversations and encounters I've ever had. And
Oh man.
may he rest. May he
Got
rest
me
well.
all teary-eyed, bro. You got me all teary-eyed, bro,
Oh,
man.
I'm
Because
sorry,
it's
man. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no. It's important because it plays. Some of these characters, some of these things that we indulge ourselves with is something that we have deep connections with.
Yeah.
And if a creator or an actor or somebody can bring that out of you, that's an amazing job done in itself, because it's not just the content, it's the fact that you got to connect on that level. And as you said, sometimes don't meet your heroes. It's true, because there is times I've had where it's like, I wish that didn't happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
But then I can understand probably why that situation happened. But you had a
Sure.
great moment, and you can't take that away.
No.
You can't take that away. You can't take that
No.
away. I think I had my thing is Back to the Future. So when
Yeah,
I did
sure.
get to meet Michael J. Fox, like
Yeah,
that was
of
just an out of this world moment.
course.
But it wasn't that. It was like that time you have, whether it's 30 seconds to 5 minutes,
Mm.
they say that one thing and you're like, oh man, I can't believe you did that for me, dude. Like
Mm.
I'm gonna be in tears now. Why did you do that to me for? But it's because of what he's done in that sort of industry, and what he's done as a person is just inspiring.
Absolutely. I've had the chance of reading Michael J. Fox's book, and
Oh
he's someone I would love to meet as well.
yeah,
And I found it astonishing actually with his book, because with Lucky Man, the
yeah,
title alone is remarkable to
yeah,
think he refers to himself as a lucky man after the diagnosis of Parkinson's. And it's just, you wouldn't expect that from someone who's got Parkinson's, but I
exactly.
found attitude towards it to be absolutely astonishing. And speaking of writing, one of the things that really struck me this year in particular was, um, I mean, as I said before, the man already had a legacy and like cemented as the Batman, right? This year for DC Pride, his Finding Batman story is one of the most honest, raw, heartbreaking, beautiful stories I've read this year, let alone like in over a couple of years or whatever. This short like issue that he does for Pride 2022, I just thought was absolutely astonishing. And now he's an incredibly private person.
He is. Yeah.
And I was completely blown away. I think I kind of always knew because there was a discussion between me and him about this notion of identity. And I don't know if he saw my wristband or something to do. I don't know what it was, but he started to talk about identity to me. And I now realize now, having read this, what he truly meant. And it was the art in which we produce is ultimately a mask for ourselves. And it's a mask that people unmask for themselves to reveal a truth for themselves. I remember him saying this and thinking, I get it in the terms of Batman, but what does that mean to you?
In reality.
And I really wanted to know what he meant. And reading the Finding Batman storyline, well, I say storyline, the truth.
Yeah, that's right. The truth. Yeah. Yeah.
It's truth.
Yeah.
I was astonished to find out that this is a man who has fought for his identity for so long, to the point where he now, I think, will be considered as well the first openly gay Batman as well, which I think is a remarkable an addition to that legacy as well.
No,
but
of course.
Something that he had to hide away is really sad. But
yeah,
eventually being able to unmask it to the world now at this time. And I don't know if he knew then when he wrote this that he was, his time was short. But if he didn't know and he wrote this because of this, my goodness, what a man.
Of course. That's
what
amazing.
A man. Like,
exactly.
What an artist. And
exactly.
there's an amazing line, if you don't mind me sharing, in that book, where he talks about it's one of the last moments of the book, of the issue, and he says, it seemed to roar from 30 years of frustration, confusion, denial, love, yearning. Yearning for what? An anchor, a harbor, a sense of safety, a sense of identity. Yes, I can relate. Yes, this is terrain I know well. I felt Batman rising from deep within. And I won't spoil the rest of the storyline for readers, for viewers out there, but when you realize what the guy has gone through to get to that point where he's then going to audition for this role, you will appreciate not just the man even further, but you'll appreciate his work even further. And that's why, for me, he will not only be seen as a great actor, but he will be the Batman forever going forward. And I don't think anyone can top him for me to being my personal favorite Batman, because just a true artist.
Oh man, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. If you guys haven't read that, guys, go check it out, because it's a beautiful short story. And Rob just explained it in such a way. You've got to go read it. You've definitely got to go read it, because as you said, man, as a creative, as a person in that industry, and the struggles that we all go through. We all go through. And that's the deeper connection that somebody like that can leave behind with us. Bless him, man. May he honestly rest in peace and rest in power, and a lot of love and prayers go out to friends and family that knew him. I'm loving everything I'm seeing at the moment. Like his videos have always been amazing. His interviews have always he has always had this great aura about him. To find out about those struggles as well, which is heartbreaking to hear, very heartbreaking to hear. But then coming to terms with it, and then everybody's private in their own ways. But I'm happy that he got to share that with us, because then again he's connected with us even more because of the personal like power that has behind it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it's so
Totally.
much power. It's so much power because we all hide in our own things, and working in the type of industry we work in. I mean, it's changed over the past couple of years, and I'm happy it has, because a lot of us can come out and say what we need to do and say what needs to be said. Where before that industry was tight cut, man. That must have been horrendous. That must have been horrendous. But no, amazing, absolutely amazing, dude, absolutely amazing. When you so like you have a deeper connection to the animated series, as you said, with I mean with your granddad, and then some of the stories that were in the animated series, like I feel like they like to this day, even when I watch them now and compare them to animations that did come out in that era, it was way ahead of its game. It still is to this day, I think.
They're timeless.
Yeah.
They're absolutely timeless, and the reason being is, as I said earlier, they're deep within the human condition. These are storylines that are incredibly adult, but they were able to find a way, and I think that's down to not just great performances but great writing as well. But they were able to find a balance between finding the fantastical with the believability, whilst also keeping the fun factor within it.
Yeah.
Even the most darker episodes like Two-Face
Yeah.
are still incredibly fun in their own right as well. I think the one exception, or one episode in particular, that I don't find necessarily fun, but only because I think it hits more home now, having been in the creative industry, or being in the creative industry, and it's the Clayface episodes. I don't watch them and think, oh, they're a bunch of fun. I think, wow, these are so deep within identity and the notion of I can't be who I want to really be.
Oh, man.
That is so, I mean, that's probably one of the most philosophical questions we question every single day of ourselves. And yet, in the animated television series, it's telling us as kids that it's painful to find that identity when it's taken away from you. And that's such a deep thing to take in as a kid. And yeah, you're not watching that and thinking as a kid, oh, this is a great philosophical discussion. But that's why as an adult, it's so timeless, because you see that going back and you go, wow, that's what they're talking about within this. And yeah.
It transcends through time, right? Just
absolutely. And
amazing.
Even the Heart of Ice is personally one of, if not my favorite episode, because if anything, it's where you've got the most ludicrous character in Mr. Freeze, but they've given him this backstory which is so romantic, the point of just heartbreak. And it's also about the corporate machine. It's also about social hierarchy, and it's also in its own right about what are we sacrificing? What's worth sacrificing your soul for? And ultimately by the end, because each episode is fundamentally resounded by one ultimate theme, which is justice.
That's right.
And for me as a creator, and especially within the world that I have delved in with Batman, not once but twice now, with both Living in Crime Alley and Enigma, they are about the gray area of justice and what it means to bring justice to certain characters, whether they be the everyday person, or they be the fantastical brilliant minded Edward Nygma. It's about what is the humane thing to do? And that all comes back to not just the animated television series, but it comes back to Conroy's voice and how much humanity he brought to that character.
Mm.
You know, and it's no, and again, I read his whenever I read a comic, I hear his voice, but whenever I'm writing for that
Mm.
character, I'm thinking of him. I'm easily thinking of him because um when you've got that voice consistent enough, it will power on through. And
Yeah,
it's not just in, the animated series, it's also in the video games as well that he was able to do as well, which again is another wonderful performance as well.
that's right.
So
That's right. Definitely. It's just amazing, man, that you can take on something not knowing what the outcome's going to be. And
mm,
as you said, 30 years down the line, nobody else wants to hear nobody else as Batman but him.
yeah.
So it's amazing to have that with you along your journey. So
Mm,
props to him, man. He did amazing. Like, it's true, that voice, even as a kid, when you hear it, you're like, how amazing has he made Batman sound?
mm,
And you even going on further to seeing the on-screen Batmans that we have seen with voice changes and deepening the
mm.
voice, and you listen to Kevin and you're like, that's Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah.
That's Bruce Wayne. And when he
Mm,
does do the Batman, you're like, oh my God, like, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I feel like taking on something like that must have been such a gamble at the time. But what a gamble to take to go further down in life to have that as it's like the mantelpiece. But he adored it after. He took it on so well. Like when you
mm.
when you do see him in interviews and he's talking about his journey, here's a guy who's like, I don't know what's gonna happen with this. I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah. I
To,
think for
oh
him, he
my
just
God.
thought it was a job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, yeah.
Yeah.
And to
Although interesting in that book, The Finding Batman,
hmm,
he does go on to say that, yes, it was he thought it was going to be just a job, but ended up being much more than just a job. It was something, you know, incredibly uplifting for his mental health,
yeah, that's right.
actually.
Yeah.
And um and I think that's a lot of things. I don't think a lot of people understand in particular. And I know, and look, I love the character,
Hmm,
right? And I'm very outspoken about my love for the character and the
hmm,
appreciation of the character. But the fact of the matter is if art can do that to somebody and they can go on to do further good things with their craft and
hmm,
actually give back to the industry, but give back to the audience in some way, you can always tie it back to one thing which gave you that spark and breath of fresh air. And that was for him, and I am going to go further with the analogy of Conroy's voice, by the way,
hmm.
because
No, of course.
and I have no problem saying this because I think it's kind of evident as I've said it before. But like when I lose one father figure, that's
Hmm,
one thing. When you lose your grandfather, who's sort of another father figure within that as well,
hmm,
and I had that one consistent voice and adventure that carried me through for the last 25,
hmm,
28 years, whatever. You can kind of look back at it and think, that's the kind of fatherly presence that's always been there consistently.
hmm,
And it will forever continue to be there. We won't
hmm.
have fresh adventures, which is such a sad thing to think.
That's right.
But what immediately destroys that thought straight away is knowing that I've got that voice in my head now. And I know that whenever I read a comic, whenever I talk about the character, he's always present there. And
Hmm.
it's a remarkable gift that he's
Yeah.
given back now. And to say now that, and to realize in many ways that that is the kind of fatherly presence that's always been consistent. I always say that, there are friends that I've had who have, kind of been like a brother to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can now pinpoint a certain character, a certain performer who has been there consistently, and now to have that gone,
Hmm.
it's not sad for me anymore. It's more important to keep that legacy alive, and that is why I have dedicated, the last win in particular for the film to his legacy and to his work, because everything had been building up to this point, for me. So again, may he rest, and
Man.
may the legacy live on.
Oh, bro.
Hmm.
Thanks for sharing that, man.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome, and because it's true.
Oh, man. No, bless, 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 bless. And again, massive congratulations to you as well, dude. The awards, the show, you've had some amazing things go on. Be proud, bro. Honestly, be proud. Be proud. You've done loads, and it's amazing to see your journey. It's amazing that we get to geek out as well, and I'm glad that we're in the same circle of friends, which is absolutely amazing, because it's for me personally, like seeing everybody, that's because I've met loads of new people over the past couple of years, and becoming good friends in the process. But getting to, like, when I was younger, I didn't get to share most of this with the friends that I grew up with, because everybody was into different things, but I was the only one that was into comics and cartoons and movies. So it's nice to share that passion with you guys, and I'm grateful for the time that you make to jump on the podcast as well, dude.
Of course.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Dude, it's always a pleasure to talk with you about, movies, comics, and TV shows. And when I got the message saying, do you want to come on and talk about it, like, there was no doubt. Like, I think I was very quick to just respond, yes.
Yes, you was.
I was like, yes. This, there's no no in this. There's, like, I will make the time if I'm busy either way. But luckily, I had a spare morning, and
bless.
Here we are. But I just want to say as well, very quickly, and it's very sweet of you to say that, the progress and everything else. I am nothing without the team that I work with. So a lot of that is down to wonderful collaborators and support. You mentioned, like, mutual kind of connections, and and I found it remarkable that we only met for the first time in person this year at Comic-Con.
That's right.
Because it felt like I'd known you for years, because we've done, obviously, the episodes and stuff like that, and we've chatted here and there. But it was just remarkable to be able to connect with you in person and actually just say thank you for the support in person, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much saying thank you for the work you do, or the work you're doing is amazing. I don't think a lot of people realize how important that is to say to somebody. There's a lot of negativity in the world, especially right now. So to be able to just say, good job, or no, do you know what you're doing? You're doing all right, and I look forward to seeing what you do next. I think it's so important that we say that to every creative.
Exactly.
And so yeah, bless, man.
No, you're welcome. No, it's an absolute pleasure, because being in the field that we're in and what we do, it takes its toll, and you're right. It's so important to have a positive. We have a responsibility, I think, and that's the honest truth. Like, there's going to be constructive feedback regardless. There's always going to be that, but the fact of helping someone move forward to the next thing, like, I'm going to do the Enigma cover. I will work on it. That is a must, because after I read it, I was like, I could already visualize what I wanted to do as a comic book cover for it. So it's I've had it all written down. I'll get it done. But it's that encouragement. I mean, we need to encourage, and we have a great responsibility in encouraging people and inspiring people, man. I know it for myself. I'm 41 this year. Yeah, and 41 this year, and all I want to do is inspire my little girl, man, that she could do great things. But it will be a struggle. But knowing that we can encourage one another, and the responsibilities we have online as well to inspire other people, because it's not. I wouldn't say. So I had a recent conversation with somebody where they were like, it didn't turn into an argument. It was more of a trying to make somebody understand that the reason why I post the things that I post is not to brag, not to show off, I'm humble in everything and every opportunity that I get, but it's to inspire. Because when I was 20, I didn't have that. I didn't know
Sure.
where I was going. I didn't have that guidance.
Sure.
Social media and the platforms that are given to us right now has given me opportunities that I would never have dreamed of. And I
Mhm.
don't do that to brag, it's to inspire, to say that you can do these things, you can go out there and do it, you can meet these people, but it's how
Mm.
much do you want it now? And I wish if I had that guidance in my 20s, but it was part of my journey. I had to do the crazy shit I did when I was in my 20s to become the person I am now, to make
Yeah.
those mistakes to become the person I am right now. So
Mm.
uh inspire, keep motivating. That's the main thing. That's all we can do with one another as well, and praise everybody for the work they do, regardless, with constructive feedback. Yes, some things are going to work and some things are not going to work, but it's how you move forward with it. So no, very grateful, Rob. Honestly, what such a pleasure getting to meet you, and I can't wait to. We still need to sort out that drink, dude.
Oh, we'll do it. Don't worry, we're going to do this. Like the beautiful thing is that I'm now, going to be more consistent in London now as I'm going to
Okay,
be basically moving back. So,
okay,
but like, yeah,
let's do it.
like you're not far from me. I can
No.
tell you that right now. So we've got no excuse now. We've got no excuse. We're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
going to Park Row.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna. Do you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to Park Row. We're gonna get Paul from DC Well. We're gonna get Michael Adji. We're gonna get
Yep.
as many comic book community people as we know,
Let's do it.
and we're gonna toast the great actor, legend, the Batman himself. We're gonna toast to Kevin Conroy.
Yes. Oh my God,
And
that's giving me goosebumps, dude. All right.
yeah,
That is absolutely amazing. Rob, again, massive thank you for the time that you're giving me. Guys, if you go into the description below, whether it's on YouTube or I share the clip, go follow Rob and his journey. It's absolutely amazing what he does. And guys, available on all streaming platforms, but I'm not going to give you that spiel. You already know what's going on. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.